Now, in this module, we're going to talk about VLOOKUP. So before we even start the VLOOKUP, right, what we're going to do is we want to find out how many percent does this sales, Amela Carpenter 133,000, how much discount percentage we should award to this Amela Carpenter. So let's don't talk about VLOOKUP now. Let's talk about how we as a human actually look for it. Huh? So 133,000, if we study this table, that means we have to look like, is it here or is it here? No, we will look through one by one, and the direction that we are looking is actually downwards. So when we are looking downwards, that means we are looking vertically. Therefore, we will be using something called a VLOOKUP. Now, we as a human, we don't even know that we are actually using VLOOKUP when we are searching it, let alone if you are writing a formula, correct? So 133 is actually in between 100 to 150,000 in between here, between this line here. But we cannot award 10%. No, we cannot award 10% simply because they haven't achieved the sales of 150,000. Therefore, we will give them only 8%. That's the plan, right? So we're going to give them 8%. So how it works is this. Number one, if you take a look, VLOOKUP simply means vertical lookup, and we have this lookup value. Lookup value here means the value that we are using to look up in the table. So the first two parameters that I'm talking about here has a meaning behind it. So what are we using to find inside this table? So I'm going to use 133,000, and the table is just going to be this table. It's going to be this table. And in this table, the relationship is this. Every time when we are using something, let's say, in this case is total sales, we must make sure that the information that we want to compare is always inside the first column. First column of the table. It cannot be right at the end here. You cannot be at the end here. It cannot. Because VLOOKUP only match the first column. So if we take this 133,000, VLOOKUP will only find inside here, which is wrong. We won't be able to find the information. Therefore, it is important that you know the relationship between the lookup value and the table is whatever value that you are using to look up, the information that you try to match has to be in the first column, no matter what you are using. They have to be in the first column of this particular table. Right? That's their relationship. Now, in this table, there are column 1, column 2, and finally column 3. There are 3 columns in this table. So what's going to happen is we tell them, hey, can you please take 133,000, look inside here. Once you found it, can you tell me what is the information in column number 2? Number 2 is going to be the discount. If you tell them number 3, then it will tell you the discount level. So in this example, we want to look for the discount. Then we have to mention that this is column number 2. The information we are looking for is in column number 2. Right? Then the last part here, range lookup, is asking you, are you actually going to compare the value that's in between the range? Indeed, we are, right? 133 is not anywhere found in this table, except that it's in between 100 to 150,000. So therefore, yes, the answer is yes, right? So now let's write this formula. But prior to that, let's name the table. I'm going to name this table as V table. Okay, V table. Now, what I'm going to do is, this is the table name. Now, I'm going to use this equals to VLOOKUP. Now, I tell them, please use C7, 133,000, and look inside the table called V table. So that's the V table that we'll be using. So in this V table, there are 3 columns. We are looking for the discount, which is in the second column. So I'm going to put here 2. Here, because they're asking for column index number, so we put 2. And are you looking in between the range? That says yes. Now we can't say yes in the VLOOKUP. We have to use true. So I'm going to put true, T-R-U-E. And when I press enter, I'll get my answer. All right, so all I need to do is just copy down. So that's the basic understanding of what VLOOKUP is. So likewise, if I want to write this, I can also do that equals to VLOOKUP. I tell them still 133,000 because my table, the first column is this sales range. Therefore, I'm going to put T table again, comma. Now this time I'm looking for the index number. This is for discount level. So it's actually column number 3. And I'm going to use true as well because it's going to be matching the information which is in between. So therefore enter. Yes, go level. Done. Okay, so that's how easy we can use VLOOKUP for. Now, in this example that I'm showing, we are actually looking for in-between value, 133, which is an in-between value. In this next example, what we're going to do is we're going to find the product name based on the ID. So this ID that we are looking at, basically they are text. They are not number. They are not a number. So it's a text. How are we going to find the product name? So we're going to try them to tell them to match. So again, first column, whatever that we are using to match, it has to be in the first column. So when we do the match, let's find out first with manually. We're going to take 100, SUPA 101. We're going to see SUPA 101. We are looking for the product name. Then the answer should be Supersaw product sample. That's what we want to do. So let's do that. I want to name this table first. I'm going to call this one as P table. P for product, P table. Let me make it short. Then I'm going to put this equals to VLOOKUP. I'm going to tell them, use this SUPA 101, go into my P table, comma. Now, after they found the SUPA 101, I need them to call out the product name. So I need to count 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's the column number 4, comma. So are we going to use true or false? Now, in this instance, we must use false. We cannot use true because Excel doesn't read ABC. Remember that it doesn't read ABC. So you have to find an exact match. Unlike the previous exercise, it's actually a number. Number we can have in between, but ABC, we don't have anything in between. Therefore, whenever you are using an alphanumeric or alphabet as your lookup value, you have no other choice, but you must use false, right? And there you go. The answer is there. Right? It's pretty simple to find the answer, basically. Okay. So a little bit of information for you, and I think I mentioned this earlier. So whenever you are using true, T-R-U-E, you can actually substitute it with 1, or you can substitute it with omit. You can omit it, or you can actually use any number. Any number. But when you use false, you can only use 0 to represent it. 0. Now, what do I mean by 1? That means if you look at this formula, it's using true at the back here. I don't want to use true, I can type 1. I can still get the answer. You see that? This is 3%. Without the 1, and without the TRUE, I put 1, I can still get the answer. Now, let's try the other one here. If I don't use true at all, I delete it. I don't even want to put true, I don't want to put 1, I omit. Omit totally, I will still get the answer. So if you study the formula, it actually does not come with the last argument or the parameter, which is like whether it's a true or false. You don't put in anything, it's considered true. Okay. Now for the last one here, if I plan to do to trick on someone, or I just want to put in some serial number, I can do that. I can put there like 88888. It will also consider as true. Right. So any number is considered true. That's what I want to demonstrate here. It can be 1, it can be omitted, it can be any number. So it's up to you. If it's true, you have multiple selection here. But when it's false, it's only 0. Just take note on that for the range lookup. This one is for the range lookup. Whether it's true or false. Now, we can always do the standard price. It's very easy. Okay, let me just scroll down again. So standard price is column 1, 2, 3. So if I do this equals to VLOOKUP, I will still use the SUPA 101, comma, and the table is P table, right? So this is 1, 2, and 3. So I put comma 3, comma 0. See, I start to use the 0 here, enter. So I can still get the answer. Is it 3? I think I'm getting something not right. What did I put here? Oh, 2, I should be 3. Okay, 3. Now then I copy down. Okay, so you can still do that. Now, what I also want you all to know is that if you are given a table which is not in the order that is supposed to follow the rules, say like the product ID is somewhere at the end, it's not in the first column. So how are you going to find the information? Now, what you need to do is, in this case, you will use something called VLOOKUP, but the problem is actually the table. So the table is the one that gives us the problem. When we actually write a VLOOKUP, each time we write a VLOOKUP, we only need 2 columns. One column is for you to do the matching, and the other column is the information that you are going to pull out. So in this case, we want to match them using product ID. but the information that I actually wanted is actually product name. So each of this column, I have given a name. So this column, I have named it as product ID. This column, I have named it as product name. And this column as product, special standard price. And the last one here as category. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have named the column. So now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to ask the function called choose to help me rearrange the column. Now this is what I meant. Equals to VLOOKUP. So when you go to equal to VLOOKUP, you just click on this C38. That's what you want to do. But we cannot highlight this table because remember, Excel only matches the first column. Now your product ID is in the last column here. So we have no choice, but we have to ask for help. So in this case, it's called choose function. So we need two columns, as I mentioned just now. I put a curly bracket, 1, 2, and close curly bracket. 1 simply mean the first column, 2 simply means the second column. So you have to put a comma now. We have to put in the first value. The value number 1 is your first column. So in this case, I'm going to put product ID, comma. Then the second column, it should be the product name. Yes, that's it. So if you look at this arrangement now, product ID will be your first column, product name, it will be your second column. Don't look at this table anymore, but look at the arrangement inside the formula choose. The product ID is your first column, product name is your second column. So I'm going to close this. When I close this, I have completed my table array. So in my table array now, it's not a physical table, but it's a virtual table where it says product ID is my column 1, product name is my column 2. So after I have done this, I just have to put a comma. So I got no other choice. This is column 1, this is column 2. I need the name, so I put column 2. And after that, I will use false to find a match. There you go. Just that. Right? So this is the formula. You can actually revise this, look at the video over and over again. Yeah, that will be great. Now, what I'm going to do is I want to copy my formula, but I cannot just copy over like this. So I'm going to click this, highlight the whole formula, copy. After I made a copy, Control C, then I press Enter to get out. What I do is I go to this formula. In the formula bar, I just click Paste. Now, it will be exactly the same, except that now I need to change this product name to STD price. That's the column that I want to find. There you go, 0, and I copy it down. So these are the prices of all the products that I have. So I don't have to rewrite the formula. All I need to do is just change my column number 2. I will be able to find the standard price. Right? So that's what you can do with your VLOOKUP. So far, all the VLOOKUP that I mentioned here is to locate certain data. For example, SUPA to locate the name and the price. Okay, and the selling price and how much discount and what is the discount level. So I'm looking for information. Now in the next exercise, which is the comparison, I actually wanted to show you how to compare two tables and find what is not in the other. So I'm going to look for a mismatched data. So let's do that. I'm going to Control A. I'm going to call this one as JAN for January. Then I'm going to click this, Control A to select all the table, everything in the table. I'm going to call this one as SEB, fact. Right? So there's a fact. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to compare the first table with the second table. Now, this is a payroll table. So how it works is this is my January payroll and this is my February payroll. So imagine there are some of the names here in the January, not in the February. That means this person might have already resigned. So how can I match the table and tell me who resigned? So this is what I'm going to do. Equals to VLOOKUP. Now I'm going to ask them, can you please use the A2? That means this is the list of people in January, A2, and I want to find them in February. Let's see whether they are there. Okay, let's see whether they are there. Then I put a comma. Now, there are 6 columns in this table. I don't want to show all the 6, of course. I just want to show 1. Let's find out who is that. So we're going to go to column 2, where you can find the first name. And I'm going to do an exact match again. So it's a very short formula. Enter. So Sarah. So they say GW29 is actually GW29. The name is Sarah. So if I copy down, you will see Sean and Colin. But if I copy all the way down, some of these names doesn't exist. For example, Berry Belly GC04 is not found in the February table. So therefore, this guy, Berry Belly, has already resigned. Now, what you're going to do is you're not going to leave it as NA. So what you do is you can write an if error. If error, oops, what did I put? If error. So when the VLOOKUP produces an error, you tell them, comma, change it to resign. Resigned, resigned, close. So when I press enter, Sarah, of course, haven't resigned, but when I copy this down, you notice that they already have, the NA now has changed to resign. Now, to make it obvious for our bosses or executive or our managers to take a look at this, I'm going to make all the word that has all the cell here that has the word resign appear as red color. So this is how I'm going to do it. Conditional formatting. Make sure all this is selected. Conditional formatting, highlight cell rules, text that contain. Then this is where you're going to tell them, oh, as long as the cell contain the word resigned, please make it light red field. Now, if you don't like the red color, you can change it to the different formatting. So I just leave it as light red field. There you go. See, all those that has already resigned will have the red color. So that's easy for you to check. As for this is concerned, now what I'm going to do is, let's study what is going to happen. Now, this is actually the February. These are all the people I'm paying. Now, there are some of this name in February does not appear in the January. So basically, what it says is a new stuff. So I'm going to write a formula, exactly the same formula. So I'm going to copy this, right? So I'm going to copy, C, get out, come back here, paste. So when I paste it, I can actually change. I don't want it to use, okay, let me just come here. Okay, let me just get out first. Come here. Okay, I paste again. Now let me just come here and paste. So when I paste it here, I tell them, okay, please don't use A2, use J2. J2, which is the employee number for February. But don't look inside February, look inside January. So they take the employee number in the column J2, they look inside the January, all this, the first column. Now, if they cannot find a match, that means that particular staff is a new staff. So I put that new staff. There you go. Then when I copy it down, there you go. And all I need to do is just go to the text that contain new staff. So there you go. It's red color. Then we know who is inside the February but not in the January. We know who is in the January but not inside the February. So from here we can do comparison between the two tables. Right. So this is what we can use VLOOKUP for. So I hope you enjoy the video, and you can use it for your work. Okay.